technical services guy, Jason. No, no, we're good. No, we're
We're
good.
good.
No IT problems. Never happened.
Knocking on wood on that one. But today we have stuff going on with all things we've been doing. So,
Yes. Spencer, I'm going to ask like so many questions today because you've been on a huge streak of adventures, which is why we haven't had Chop Talk for so long. It's not because we
sorry.
don't want to. Don't apologize because the end result is we get to talk about this cool stuff, dude. Uh, so, Pennsic or Greece? What do you want to talk about first?
Let's go in chronological order.
Makes sense. All right, Spencer, you went to Greece
Hmm.
doing a living history reenactment with our friend Christian Cameron, who was our previous guest. Uh, Tell us about this trip. Like, what if someone had never heard of it? What is it?
So it was absolutely amazing. This is the first actually out of nation uh trip that I've ever done. So for like specifically doing something sword related, it was like, whoa. It was
Like,
really
first
interesting.
time leaving the country for a sword thing, right? Like,
Yeah, even for sword things. I mean, I got to
not
go
just in
over.
general.
No, I got to play in the desert when I was in the Air Force, and that was
That's
not
right. That's
nearly
right.
as fun. And I got to travel to some other places as a kid, like Jamaica things. But this one was just sword related, and it was
Yep.
amazing.
Sword.
So it was
Cool,
for the
man.
2500th anniversary of the Battle of Plataea. So for you out there, the Battle of Plataea was the battle after Thermopylae. So after the Spartans did all their amazing stuff, and Leonidas fought in the shade for a whole bunch of arrows and all that amazing stuff, and then eventually
Like,
the Spartans
where
lost.
every cool Greek quote comes from.
Exactly.
This is the
And when
setup.
this is the part where he said, "This is Sparta," and he kicked a guy into the well. And after all that happened,
Yep.
they didn't win. The Persians kept marching forward. However, they went to try to finish and end it all. And that's when Christian Cameron will say, quote me on this, but the Persians snatched defeat from the grasp of victory because they should have won. They had huge numbers. They had ginormous cavalry. They were not able to use
Uh-huh.
their navy because they're inland, but they should have just been able to get them to a land where they could have just crushed them with their cavalry, and it
But
didn't work out that way.
2,500 years ago, what was the reason they didn't? What was the thing the Greeks did that snatched that victory?
So they were strategically just patient. They had discipline. It took them 11 days. They were sieged for 11 days without limited supplies. So they barely had any water because the Persians poisoned their water supply. They were up. They had a good
Jerks.
position up on. I know, right? We actually saw the place where their water supply was poisoned. So we're like marching in our kit. We have imagine you. So I'm a big, strong guy. People back at home. I'm 6'4", around 280 pounds, 270. They're like, Spencer will be fine. Give him a good heavy shield. So they give me like a 15-pound shield, which I was like, this is so
Man,
heavy. And we had marched
that's
like.
dude,
mm,
that's such a heavy shield.
and this is coming, Kyle knows, but I'm a spear guy and also a two sword guy, so I like two swords. The swords are way lighter than the shields. This other shield, I'm just like, this sucks. Granted, the aspis, which we called it, shield, would fit on your shoulder, but wasn't specifically made for me. It would kind of like awkwardly sit off, so I'm
It
like
was
having to
made for
use
a
all this
guy that was
weight.
like 5'10",
A little bit there, yeah, a little
and you're
bit smaller
six
than me.
four, so like it didn't get all the way up,
It
right?
didn't get where I wanted it to, and it was
Man,
absolutely painful slash tiring to march kilometers with a shield. But it was amazing. I wanted to give up, but everyone else wasn't giving up. Although the French contingent had this amazing lot lighter shields. They look at me like, "Why can't you carry your shield?" I'm like, "Handed them mine." They'd be like, "This is really heavy. I'm glad I have my shield." And I was like, "Hmm, I'm
so
glad."
a French contingent. How many countries were there?
So we had Till, who is from Germany. We also had the Swedish group of three individuals. I'm sorry, I didn't want to mess up with their names, but they were amazing. We had people from Spain or Hispania. Pablo was an amazing individual with all the other group. Like I'll have to put more pictures later. Then we had the French contingent, which was about like they had about maybe 14 or 15 guys and around 5 or 6 girls or women with them that also did a lot of the reenactment, and they were like so cool, so interesting. And one of my most favorite parts about it was I automatically gravitated towards the French group because they were just around our age. They were fun. They had a good time, but they also worked really good together as a group, as a unit. Like they
Oh,
practiced
awesome.
like as much as you did, like in this Brotherhood of Steel. So viewers at home, when Kyle was really, really active in the SCA, they made their own household that would get up to how many
Yep.
people did you have at one time?
I mean, all overall members, we had over 50 or 60 people.
Yeah.
But like actively, we'd usually bring 20 to 25 every year at Penzic.
Yeah, so it was like that. So you're fighting with these people all the time in a hoplite group. So they're used to using their shields, and they talk to like, I forget the phrase, but they'd have a chant that would help them march in beat. Like, I can't remember right now. It's escaping my mind, but it was just amazing. So they had all these big shields, and they could get where they're moving, and they got to a point where they're doing like not a sprint, but a
Like a
jog.
song?
It was
They had
like
like a marching song?
it was no, well they did have those too. Like we sing a whole lot. But it was like ma sa fa lungs, ma sa fa lungs, ma sa fa lungs, and it would keep us in that beach.
Like
And they,
the
yeah,
foot comes down.
yeah,
Oh,
ma
that's
sa
so
fa
cool.
lungs, and you'll just enjoy it. But they were just amazing. And there was a point where I was just there. They would talk in their important things in French, and then they look at me and be like translation. And sometimes I'd be like, no, I just want to listen and learn. So I felt like Antonio Banderas in 13th Warrior,
I was
which
gonna ask about that.
which you guys at home, if you ever want us to do a watch along and have us watch this and see some interesting commentary, you should give us a like in chat. Give us a whole. I want to see Kyle and Spencer go through 13th Warrior because it'll be an interesting moment. But that's how I really felt. So by
I
the end, I
absolutely
was
love
learning
the
some
movie and
things.
the book.
It was so good. So like I'd be
Yeah.
like, they give me some drink and I'd be like, merci, and they'd be like, de rien, which means like no problem. And then every now and then I was like, hand me my chapeau, or like different hat, and they'd be like, oh, you're learning. So it was just fun. So I just felt the immersion there, and that's what with the reenactment. It's different because it's different than our LARPs, right? Even though SCA people
Uh-huh.
were like, it's not a LARP, it's a LARP. We're
And
doing
it's
stuff.
LARP. It's
It's a
LARP,
LARP.
dude. We
It's a,
we
it's
do a LARP.
it's a historical art with a little bit of fantasy added to it, but it's a
Yep.
historical art. So our immersion, we don't really have immersion because when we talk later about Penzik, you can see a samurai next to a Viking, see all this stuff. This was all hoplites, and it was really just amazing
Mm-hmm.
to see this. And Ajax, who traveled along with me, who was a person from the east, he had a really big household, La Familia, in the east side, but then he moved to California, and his household's still doing great, but it's all Greek. So it's amazing to see him come along with me, and he had this love for the culture and all these things. So he was basically my own tour guide.
Awesome.
It was perfect. But anyway,
That's like the exact person you want with you. Someone that like deep dives it and loves it so much that they'll make it their thing in the SCA and then go to a
mhm,
living history about it. Super cool.
absolutely amazing, absolutely beautiful. Yes, there's one part where if you check out on Instagram and TikTok, where the elevators in Europe, or at least in Greece for sure, they were like maybe, kid you not, maybe this big by like maybe like 3 feet deep. And so I got in there, and then Ajax got in there, and we're just kind of like really like next to each other, and we like barely could. It was like, yep, this is the size of the elevator. This is awkward. So when we had all of our stuff in there too, absolutely ridiculous. And other
Funny.
Greeks would look at us like, what are you doing? Like, why do you have all this stuff? But yeah, so that was really fun.
And you've got that that video was on Instagram, but you said that you've got more stuff coming on both your Simply Samurai Instagram and on the Wandering Sword Instagram. Is that right?
Yeah, yep. I'm gonna start publishing more stuff for our Simply Samurai, as well as some of the stuff for our Wandering Sword project, because it was just so busy. Like I was gone for 24 days, like
Yeah.
24 days between Greece and Penzik, which seemed really cool, the idea, but also was really tiring. Uh,
Oh,
that's-
it's probably real nice to be home right now.
it's good, and then sadly, I'm gonna leave tomorrow for Seattle because there's other stuff going on. But
Ah.
it's just living it up before winter comes, and that's when we really slow down. So it'll
Yeah.
be good.
Fair enough, Ben. So
But
when you were there in Greece and you had the your kit, what equipment did you have?
so one of the coolest parts, like the little video that we're doing in from the beginning, where it shows what we were doing. Like I come out of there, I already have my linothorax, which is my chest gear and my like battle skirt, so kind of like a samurai. The dough and their other plates, but then I didn't have greaves with me, and not everybody would have had greaves, so I didn't have to put greaves. I had my canteen because it was so hot there. The first day when we were setting up tent, it was 40 degrees Celsius, so around 105 degrees Fahrenheit. First day. And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, like I like the heat. Dry heat made it better, but still, I was like, if it's like this the whole time, I don't think I'm gonna make it. Luckily, it got better. Like it got down to like maybe 95 degrees, so it was 10 degrees lighter. And then once the sun went down,
Wow.
it was so much better. but the water mattered so much. Like you would drink your water all the time. We had water rations, which
Did the
we actually
Persian
had in the canteen.
reenactors like poison your canteen or anything?
They did not, thank God. And sadly, this time
Good.
we didn't get a whole lot of person reenactors. Hopefully, in 2024 will be great because actually trying to get actual Persians or people of Persian descent, they wanted to go, but there's so many dealings that Christian Cameron and the group had to do with from like the Greek government to be like, you can't do it here. We have no fires. We get all this stuff there. There's so many things
Yeah,
that
like
like
lots of hurdles.
yeah, like I remember when I first got there, I had this little thing that says, "Please do not detain this person." I mean, this is like this is paraphrasing. Please do not detain this person. They have weapons and stuff because they are reenactors. They are sanctioned by the U.S. government as well as the Greek government to do reenactments. So it was like they're like, "Huh," and they're like, "Why do you have spears or why do you have rocks?" And they're like slings. Please don't take my stuff. Um,
It's hilarious.
Yeah. But I have to say, like, before we move on to this part, one of the biggest things was to actually we're camped outside the city of Platea. So we're there,
Uh-huh.
where the Plateans would be, roughly. The spikes and the tumbleweeds and all this other stuff were actually horrible. That was really annoying. So we had to actually clear our little camp area. So the first part when we got there, we're raking. I'm like, I traveled hundreds of miles, thousands of miles to rake a desert and make it so we can have a place to sleep, which was good.
It's like gosh, what's that old movie that makes fun of Star Wars, Spaceballs? Have you ever seen that movie? Where they comb the
The
desert.
comment that like, are you probably thinking like, I am found shit.
It's
So
like dude, you literally did that.
we were literally doing that for a good 4 hours, and we're just like, because the
Oh
spikes
man.
were horrible. I had the period shoes on, which luckily I did not. My feet did not bleed, but I walked barefoot enough to do the
Yeah,
other
how
actual
is
research things. Yeah.
like one thing that's often overlooked is like we do SCA or any of these things, you wear the best foot protection you can wear while you're doing the sparring. But in the living history, it's about wearing exactly what they wore. How did like sandals, I guess? How did the period
Yep, they
footwork
are
hold
period
up?
Greek sandals, or they have hobnails on the bottom of them. Oh, hi, Juniper. Good to see you. Um, so they have hobnails on the bottom of them, so like on concrete and stuff. They would grip a little bit, but I actually little fast forward when I was going home just recently, Union Station, and I was walking on marble, so it was actually kind of reenactment. I was literally like as slick as ice. It was almost like you're falling off, and it was really, really hard. So in the ground, it was really easy. Um, but if you weren't wearing the right thing, it was bad. So the sandals were nice. They were made of leather. I conditioned them beforehand. I also had some Instagram
Okay,
videos on
smart.
that. I'm gonna actually put that on our Water and Sword so people can see that too. Um, and then the first couple of days when we're walking through the fields that they were in, there were so many rocks in the fields. It's not used to like Kyle's from Indiana. I'm from Illinois. We're used to fields. Don't get me wrong, but our fields are like dirt,
Flat.
and they rain. They're muddy. They're flat. These were full of rocks. Kid you not, Raphael, one of the guys who was actually an archaeologist, part of the French contingent, he actually was walking through and he found a marble foot, like a baby foot, like a marble, like things of a marble, something that was here. So like an archaeologist dig, and
That's
so we had to
huge.
like give it to somebody else. Yeah. So just walking there,
Oh,
found a foot, like, oh, this is cool. Like just things you find in Greece. Oh, pieces of
that
pottery.
like
Oh,
that never happens at like a US SCA event. Like that's really
no.
unique.
Yeah, but walking through the fields where most of the time I walked without any socks on, or I didn't have null-bound socks or wraps, which I eventually did wraps. So the straw's poking at me, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get cut up. But luckily I didn't. However, on the last day, I did decide to wrap my feet in like basically the same thing as Wendigos or Viking wraps, because I was
Yeah, the
like,
leg
this,
wraps.
yeah, because I was like, this hurts. I'm just gonna do that. No way. So
That's so
those
cool,
were good.
man.
But yeah, so it's cool to talk to the Plataeans. We walked into town like we were French, like a French Foreign Legion. And the people would be like, "What are these people doing? Why are they doing reenactment?" Because the Greeks weren't used to reenactment. They're not really sure. They're like, "What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?" And at first, they were like really kind of perturbed or kind of like weird. By the end of it, they threw a festival for us, which they had planned. Like there was dancing. We were wearing our garb. I gave these two little girls like these little rings, little like Nautilus rings. And I gave them to each, and they're like maybe like one was 14, and the other one was like maybe like 8 or 6. And she was so cute. The father was taking pictures of us the whole time. He later came up and shook my hand. And he's like, "Anytime you come back, you have a place at my home, and I'll make sure that she treasures this for the rest of her life." And she went and got like a little Peppa Pig, like a little ring pop, and gave it to me. It was so sweet. I was just like, oh. And the kids, of course, they were all like, I mean, one of 6'4" black guy, and they're like, "Do you play basketball? Do you play like for the Switch?" I'm like, "No, not really. More football. I like that." But they're like, "Oh, that's cool." And like I do long sword stuff. They're like, "What?" and they're like, "Can we get a picture with you?" So Christian Cameron thought it was great, but a lot of other people like, "You have so many fans." Like I'd walk into the thing and everyone's like, it was just really funny. So that was just the best part to actually talk to people that would be the ancestors of the Plataeans and have a warm welcome.
Yeah, super cool, man. And
Yeah.
so the battles themselves, how many like armored people were there? Or I
Uh,
guess just fighters, because not everyone wears armor, right?
in history or for the reenactment?
For the reenact.
For the reenactment, we pretty much only had maybe I think we had 40 in our contention, and then we actually had some Thebans, like real people from Thebes, which once again sounds so like that's cool. They dressed up, they were in stuff, and they maybe had like a contingent around 30 or 40, and we had a I can't think of the name right now. It's like Thermaso something, where we just did a push. So it's not like we fought in the SCA where we actually are stabbing each other in the face
Yeah.
and everything. Even though there was fighting, which I'll put up some clips there, we had one-on-ones, Hapalagia, where it was cool. I didn't win, but I got third actually. I got almost to the
Okay,
end,
not bad, dude.
yeah, the leader of the French contingent, Vincent, actually beat me. We got to the semifinals, and everyone's like, "No, we want this to be the finals." And he was just so fast and so good at his sport because it's kind of like LARP based, where we're using spears and push, but we couldn't push with spears. All right, push with shields. Which at one point he got really excited. And he like shoved me and knocked it back, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I should not have done that. I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, that was awesome, bud."
Yeah,
So
it's awesome. You just can't do it.
yeah, I'm like, that's fine. But I think I maybe got him once out of the three. And then he ended up going against, I think it was Raphael. And I think he beat him. Or I don't know. It was a really good fight. But so we had one on ones. But yeah, it was a good time. It was really awesome. They're also going to be doing stuff for the Olympics in 2024 because, well, as you know, you can come along this time because we're trying to make all of our funds and stuff work, but they're planning on doing it again in 2024 for the Platea, which you should
Okay.
definitely come along. Where hopefully the Greek government they're
So
really excited about
in
it. Exactly. So hopefully I need to do some resourcing. The airports don't really do, or airlines don't really do things for individual people, but I think if we say we're a national hoplite group, if you look at some of the pictures, like this one is at daytime, and the one in the middle, bottom right is Anthony Yamato, who's actually in charge of a American hoplite group because there were some other Americans there, which
okay.
was really cool. So we'll have to meet out with him. But anyways, maybe we can get a big group together, a group discount, be like we're Team USA doing a hoplite thing, head
Like
up
a
by the one
Wandering
board.
Sword Project hoplite crew.
Yeah, and be like, please give us a
That could be
discount.
fun, man.
Exactly. So that was really cool. But anyway, the French are doing it in 2024 for the Olympics, since Olympic is based upon Greek standards and Olympic stuff. They're actually going to be doing something for the Olympics, and they were like, "You should come down and be a part of our phalanx. So we should get you in on that too." So who knows what happens
That would
there?
be awesome, man.
Which is a
I've
perfect
always wanted to be a part of a phalanx. Like you, I love fighting with spears.
exactly.
Like, it's just so cool.
Which is a perfect segue because I talked to Nico, who was like second in charge of the French one. I said, you should come to Pennsic. Next year, you should come to Pennsic. And he's like, I might figure that out. And of course, we got that coming in the future too. So I was like, it'll be 50 year for Pennsic. So it'll be the 50th anniversary. You should come.
Yes, I need to come. It's been too
Yes.
long since I've had Penzic. I did too many. All my world traveling was like time off from the SCA is what that equated to. And then I'm like, cool, I'm ready to do some stuff now that I'm in kind of this area again. And then COVID told me no.
Yep. And then you're like,
And
Wandering
like we're
Sword.
like finally starting to come out of that. So I would love to go to yeah, 50 year, man. That would be great.
It'll be great. Which is a great segue to what? If we talk real quick about Pennsic, Kyle,
Penzic.
or yeah, Baby Ninja, could you put on there one of the pictures? Oh,
All
perfect.
right.
He is a great, great, great
He's
asset
on
to
it.
us. I would be lost without it. Kyle would be yelling at me to put things on there, and I wouldn't know what to do. So, thank
What do I do with my hands?
you. I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, so Penzic, man, I've been to a billion Penzics. I love them all, but I wasn't at this one, and you were. So, how was it?
It was weird because it was so different since we haven't had a Penzic
Yes.
for 2 years. And actually, the last time I was at Penzic, I was Prince. So that was really weird to be there. And even though I was
Yeah,
still at Mid Romero Camp, but I wasn't like important. I had nothing to
you
do.
didn't have like responsibilities and authority the whole time this time.
Yeah, which is great, but people were still so reverent and really nice. They're like, we remember all this stuff there, which was really weird. At some point, I was just like, I'm just a guy having fun. They're like, no, but you were our, which is fun. That's why I love this game, and
It
that's
is.
something we'll talk about when we do. I'm getting ahead of us, but Dragon Con soon. I just want to make sure we don't forget. Where we're trying to do the whole World of Swords, and Penzik has been such a big. I mean, for the most part, it's kind of our foundation
Yeah,
for a lot
dude,
of stuff we've
not
done.
100%, man.
Yeah, the SCA has given us a lot of just foundation met a lot of people, and as you can look at both these
Yeah.
pictures, these are non-choreographed fights where they have up to around 500 to 5. I mean, they can be higher, but I think this year we only had there was only maybe 7,500 people total. Maybe we got up to 8,000.
Oh,
And
that's for Penzic, that's really small.
it is
But
small.
dude, the crazy part though is that's so small Penzic. It's so much bigger than all sorts of other festivals and tournaments and things out there. It's just a lot of people don't realize the numbers that the SCA puts out for these big events is massive.
Yeah,
You know?
it is absolutely. And you got people from all over the world. Like we have
Mhm.
40,000 members, which they say is right now at the moment. So 40,000 members, still out of those, maybe there's only 10,000 fighters. So actually getting a field full of 1,000 fighters per each side is really huge when it happens. But I think this year was more about like 700, but
Yeah,
still turns out to an
it's the
amazing, amazing
COVID
event.
recovery, but yeah, that's a ton of people. Like,
Yeah. And it was
there's
hard
just a
for the
lot.
people. Yeah, they're like, so have fun at your other reenactment. And it's not for the sake of like trying to be like, this isn't a reenactment. I'm like, no, but it's honestly for categorization. Like, so
Yeah.
in parts, people are reenacting day to day life on some things. But however, when we get to our fights, it's clearly non choreographed. We have different scenarios, which makes it therefore much more LARP because we're not even doing historical scenarios. Even though they might call it Hadrian's Wall, but we're not doing what actually
It's
happened
not.
at Hadrian's
Yeah,
Wall.
it's just a wall.
It's just a
But
wall. But it's so cool as being you've been a commander and I've been general of the whole thing on a whole side. So at one point I've been in charge of all 500 troops, and to actually try to be. I mean, I'm gonna nerd out just for a second. Oh, just for a second, but it's like the real time strategy, being Age of Empires or Warcraft, where you're like, move your units here. You come up with a plan. You do the stuff. We have meetings beforehand, and then you come to the battle and you do it, and then stuff just starts going. Woo! I think you're just like that was the plan. Okay, all right. It's devolved down to get them and try to stick together, hit it one
and
time.
like, yeah,
Sure,
react.
but it's still, I think, from an
You're
anthropological
right though,
standpoint.
man. Like, uh, I was given command of a full battle one time. I had not been general though. Like people have tried to get me to do it, but I was never had the time to like
Mhm.
really do it justice. But one time I was given command of the full battle, and I was like, oh, this is hitting every like video game RTS thing I've ever played. I'm like seeing the real time version of that, except half the guys won't do what you say. These half are gonna just like go for no reason. No one asked them to. They're gone. You lost them, and it was like getting to experience that is awesome. It's a thing no other game has given me yet. Is like that on that scale.
Yeah, like I'm curious to see how I think it's Volan in Europe, which is the Jomsborg or Steel Viking equivalent, where they have
Mhm.
the biggest steel fight. But I still don't know. You actually have to talk to Ray Rowe about that.
I
'Cause
will.
I'm not sure
We've
what
been
the scale that
chatting
is.
a lot of Viking stuff lately.
Good, because I don't know what the scale's in that. But this one, SCA, where some people are like SCA, blah. I'm like, hey, it may not be your cup of tea. I think it's still interesting because once again, it's all about the pros and pros. But there has some of the biggest scale fights that I think any other system
Yep.
has, and you actually get
Yep.
some of the freight, the state, shell shock, because you have people that have only been training for a year, you have people that are new, and you're like, go forward, and they're like, I don't want to die yet. They're not actually worried about dying. You can get hurt, it happens, but they're not actually worried about dying, but they don't know what to do at the time. So there's a lot of things that can be used historically. I think
Mhm.
that a lot of academics are like poo poo. Like, nope, this is close to some
No,
of the stuff you get.
it's great. It's its own game and it's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
Like, you don't got to convince me. We're both SCA knights. We love this
No,
stuff.
exactly. No, never give it up. Never ever ever. Good time. It was interesting. I think people it was different to come back from climates because the first day we got back, it was maybe in the 90s for sure, but the humidity was like
Yeah,
60%.
it gets so hot.
Yeah.
Uh, that's great to hear that it's going well after the Penzic, kind of hiatus from the COVID years. Yeah, that's great. Did you have any like awesome pickups or awesome moments at Penzic that you totally had hero moments?
Actually, finally got. Oh, and thank you, Juniper. Oh, I appreciate still being important, but it's nice to pass the torch and do things, and let people get their chance. But for as far as a hero moment, I got to fight Duke Dietrich or Rob Hunter, who
Oh,
was
that guy's awesome.
the only American to ever medal in an HMB. I think it was HMB, not IMCF, in longsword competition. So he's really good. I got to fight him sword and shield, which kicked my butt on. I'm not a great sword and shield fighter. And then we did two sword versus sword and shield and win a bit. I mean, he kicked my butt a lot, but it was nice to fight him, and I laid some stick on him. So it was actually a chance to actually get to meet him, and he was like, it's nice to actually finally fight with an actual athlete and a fellow athlete. And I was like, that's high praise from him.
That's great, man.
But he also extended the invitation. He's like, "Hey, when you want to come down to Florida, like just let me know anytime, and I'll train you up." And I'm kind of like just a Yoda, where I would like to train with him on some longsword stuff. So he's like, "Just let me know when you're coming, and we'll gladly hook you up, and we can do some fighting." So I think I'm gonna take him up on that next year after I win the championship again, right before we go to Worlds, or maybe before.
That's that's a good idea, man. A training montage would be that'd be a good call.
Yeah,
I'll
'cause
prep Rocky music for you.
yeah. So yeah, that was the best hero moment. Other than that, it was just having fun.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, belted champs, which as you know, are a big thing. It's the battle between the East and the Mid. And I'll be quite honest, the belted champions ones, I don't like it because there gets to be, or there used to be a lot of animosity because it's our big like Super Bowl. But in our game, for the viewers back home, and it's good to see you, William Rain. Oh, you're so cool too, bud. But this is one of the only sports where you decide when you're dead. Like they hit you with a thing, you're like, okay, good, I'll take that. Where other ones, referee is HEMA and everything, they're like, no, point, you're done.
Right, right.
Point.
Yeah.
So it's good, but yeah, it's bad when you get to a really good one because then people hit you and they're like, no, no, and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to hit
Man,
somebody actually hard. But this was
remember
go ahead.
so do you remember when Paul the Barbarian was on and we talked about like some of them are more game like because it's you're accepting, there's not a ref. You decide when it's good, and then others are more sport like because it doesn't matter what you say, it's what the ref says. That's one that I feel like the SCA would benefit a lot if we just for that one fight let the refs do it. I
Yes,
think
but
that
then
would solve a lot of problems.
they'd have to be completely impartial. They'd have to be like trained for
Yeah,
this fight.
you're right. I get it. It would be weird. It'd be tough. But the alternative is like 20 years of people, not caring about a fight that should be like really cool.
Which I think it happened this year, and that's a big part.
That's
Like
awesome.
having a lot of Eastern friends, like the mid won this time, which was pretty cool. I have to find a video actually. I have like a mid 1 minute video where I was there with my polearm, just wackety wackety, and of course I'm in my Mamluk kit, so I'm doing my African stuff since I'm trying to get ready for our once again plug for later our Udemy videos coming out. So I'm actually trying to fight in
Yep.
what they would have had. And it was kind of fun. Although people were like, "Is that Sabah?" I'm like, "No, I mean I'm honored, but no, it's not." Um, but it
There'd
was
be
just a good
more than
time.
one dude with that armor, okay?
It's okay. I don't mind. That's a big honor.
It is. Sabah's a
But
like old school hero.
yeah, he's an OG, especially for Knights of Wakanda. But we ended up winning, and then afterwards, not trying to be an asshole, you're like, "Hey, was that okay? Everything?" And of course, people are like, not butthurt, but we're like, "Yeah, you beat us." You're like, "Yeah, you're fair." But everyone's really nice because they understand that like you're trying to make sure it's okay. Because I've had some years where after we got done fighting, they're like, "I have no problem with you, brother. I have no problem with you." So you're like, "Oh, so you have a problem with someone else?" And I was like, "Oh, this feels gross. I don't like it." But everyone seemed to be happy,
Right. But
and
that's it. It's
yeah,
because we're leaning away from the game and trying to be competitive.
yeah,
But we're doing it in an environment that's for the game instead of an environment that's for the competitive. And it
yeah.
like causes this disconnect. 'Cause no one is mad in a like HMB fight when it's over and everyone's knocked to the ground. Like that's the rules. Everyone's fine.
Because you
We
got
will be
wrecked.
fine.
There was
Right.
no way saying like you're like you didn't wreck me enough. You're like no, you're on the ground. Like that's why I like those
It's
fights so
it.
much
because
because
it's a competition in a competition environment. Like there's no gray areas where people are getting out of control. And that's cool stuff.
so it was good. We'll
So
we'll
good to hear
repeat
about
that
the
one.
Belter battle. Glad you had a good time, man.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so I think it's time that we move on to our next segment.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Jason, give us the animation. You're the pro. He asked us which one. Like we do the same thing every time, and he's like,
That being said, though, I couldn't tell which one.
he's the audience can't hear it, but he's giving us a hard time. We're getting it.
And I'm
Oh
happy
man,
you do.
Jason, we love you, man. We give you a hard time, and you're the best.
He was like,
So
which speaking of Jason, how are we on time? 10 minutes. Okay, we're good. Chime in
and
and say hi. We'll
go
watch and order it
fast.
later. The prior engagement. Hey, thanks, Andre. Andres, I appreciate you.
Oh,
Check it out
Andre's
whenever you get a chance.
here.
Check it out whenever you get a chance.
All right, guys. So as you can see in the photo, we have Raymond Rowe, full-on awesome WWE superstar.
Like, that's what he does for a living. He's
Yes.
doing what I'm trying to do, but for real. It's the best. War Raiders are amazing. I've seen them. Actually, it was the first wrestling team I ever saw together. I was like, huh, this is neat.
Yeah. War Machine, I heard about them before, because I don't follow wrestling like I did when I was a kid. But when I first heard about them, like a Viking tag team, that's my jam. And it turns out like Raymond Rowe of that Viking tag team does historical Jomsborg Viking reenactment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's perfect. This dude is following his destiny. So I got in touch with some of our SCA friends that know him and do this stuff. And actually, Spencer, you met him before that too, and brought this up. So I've been practicing a new sword sport for their Viking reenactment, Jomsborg style, for like 9 months now, like last December. And I've been making a full Viking reenactment kit. And I want to show you something cool, Spencer.
What are you gonna show me?
Do you like swords?
I love swords. Ooh.
So check this out. This sword is originally like a Purple Heart Viking trainer,
Mm-hmm.
but I blackened the tip. I did a wrap to give it a little differentiation. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna draw this guy. It looks
Oh.
awesome. I got a scabbard for it, and then we got a baldric, of which everything on this sword, by the way, there's two. They're two matching twin swords for me and my friend Brandon, who is in the SCA with me.
Brandon's going?
Yeah, it's me and
Oh,
Brandon.
oh, that's
On
gonna be so
Instagram,
fun.
he's Wife Peter Chickenfoot. It's the dumbest.
Yeah.
I laugh every time I see it. It's such a dumb name.
No, I love
Uh,
it. I love it. I love it.
yeah, we blackened the tips. We made like full Viking setup in a pair of two, so we could go together. And he recently went on like a Viking museum trip and picked up these fittings from a Viking museum in Denmark, which you can
Whoa.
see like
That's
they're
so
real
cool.
detailed. And then the last little like fun bit here is this is supposed to be Odin in the belt tip,
Mhm.
and so we put the rivet in for one, but we left the other eye open so we can have the one-eyed Odin on our
Oh my god, you're such a
on our
fucking
swords.
freaking nerds. I love
I
it.
know, man. I went full into it, but I've got like a matching helmet, chainmail, uh, all this stuff, and I'm gonna unveil it all this weekend. I'm gonna do the same thing you did for Greece, where I'm gonna just like have the video, upload it as I can as time goes on. But I want to give everybody just some cool stuff.
You should
Uh,
totally do one where you totally. I mean, not to be a director. We're both directors. I feel like we're Steven Spielberg and also at the same
Spencer's
time.
putting his hat on.
Like, oh, the heck go. But totally do that one, getting out of your Viking tent, and then just record it from stop to beginning of you putting on the stuff. At the end, we
Yeah,
just
dude,
edit it. We edit it
I'll
and
do
chop
that.
it. You should. It's just a good pick. Like that
Yeah,
one that I
man.
did on Instagram. I
Yeah, I
was
love it.
totally not
Looks
gonna
so
do.
cool.
I was not gonna do anything. I mean, I was gonna do videos, but I wasn't gonna do it like that. And I saw other people doing stuff. Which there's another friend I gotta give a shout out who's King Leonidas who wants us to be on his show later. He has about the same following as we do. Really amazing guy. I think he's actually
Cool.
16. He's really ahead of his game as far as doing stuff. I'm
Yeah,
like,
if
oh,
he's already going to Greece at 16 doing cool sword stuff, man, he's like a speed runner, and we're like casual gamers at this point.
that's all right. But it would be amazing. But I saw them doing stuff and I was like, I should do that. But you should do that too. And I think
Yeah, man,
that's
I
the
will.
Viking Western style. That's a 19th century H, I think, as I was looking up because I was doing a little research on that as we had
On
it.
on wait, research on what?
The sword, like
Oh, yeah. The Oakshot Type 10 or Type X typology is what it is, and then the this part is the Type H pommel,
mm, that's what it
like
is.
the this setup, which
Okay.
is my favorite type. And Jason's attacked by a dog.
Yeah.
The back.
And I love that you blackened it, which is really cool. Also helps keep it
Yes.
from rusting. That's smart.
Yep.
Oh, puppers and give him some puppy love. But I can't wait to see. So, what's one of the biggest things you're looking forward to for this
Oh man,
Roseburg Farm Wars?
dude, you said this earlier about Greece. That like a huge part of it is the immersion. Like when we do SCA, like I'm a knight, so and so is a samurai, so and so is a Viking, so and so is from Charlemagne's era. You know, like we're not necessarily immersed, other than we're all there, not LARPing because they don't like to be called, but LARPing together as followers of a kingdom and being good vassals, etc. But we all look different. When you go to this, all the tents are of the right period, all the stuff. Me and Brandon had to take pictures of our full stuff and send it to make sure it was approved, like that it was good
Mm-hmm.
enough for their event. And I'm like in the SCA, you know, you'd get yelled at if you suggested that. You know, like
No,
that's not what it's about. But like here it is, and I'm like, I've got no problem being respectful and like trying to make it as much as possible. You're right. That immersion you talked about in Greece, that's what I'm excited to experience. Like when I'm there, I will be a Viking. I will be channeling my inner dude who loves to watch the Northmen, and that's it. You know,
which is
that's what I'm about.
which is absolutely amazing because when I got a chance to meet, I think it was his mom's birthday with the time we were there, and afterwards we're all done. Like one of his little cousins came out, they're like, "Who's that?" Like, this is Spencer. He's also a Viking, just like I am. And I was like, "That's so cool." Like we're all doing Viking stuff. We're all from that. I think it was 700 to 1100. I don't remember exactly, but you're all who would
My
have come
gosh.
in contact with that group. You're not gonna have like a random samurai being like, "Yo, what's up?" Even though
Right.
good history, but it's there, and I'm like, "That's cool. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it." And I just
Yeah.
can't wait to
Like
hear about what you did, what you're going to do, and how you
man,
enjoyed it.
it can't wait to tell you, dude. And so that's this weekend. I'm flying out Friday, and I'll just update you guys. And we'll chat about that in the future.
Rock on. Gonna be good. So moving on, last thing to our side question. So we got a bunch of side quests coming up. Like I
Yep.
said, Kyle's going to do his Viking Wars. I'm going to be going to the Seattle to do an SCA event for On Tier, where they're flying me in to just do a kids class and also just hang out and be a mid-realmer and show some
Awesome, man.
culture. So it's gonna be fun.
That's awesome.
Thanks. And then we also got Dragon Con coming up September 1st through 5th. Um, we're going to be doing, honestly, a panel for Dragon Con, which is cool. And it's going to be Welcome to the World of Swords. So Kyle and I get to be like the ringmasters, and we get to show people about HEMA. We get to show some people about lightsaber stuff. We get to show some people about SCA combat. We get to show something about bow hurt. And then we also have a good friend, Kung Fu Rob, which if you check him out on Instagram, he's like now blown up to like 100,000
Oh,
followers.
wow.
And I like used to talk to him like 2 years ago or a year ago when he was only like 10,000, and he's just blown up. And he does this amazing
That's so
trisection
cool.
staff and amazing hook swords, and he also does your favorite, the meteor hammer / rope dart.
Oh,
Uh,
man. Yeah, I saw one of his videos on that, and I'm just like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, I
so good.
can't, man.
So good. So we're gonna have a great time doing that. This
Yep.
will be the 36th Dragon Con. Sorry that we weren't able to publicize it a whole lot bigger because we weren't sure if we were gonna make it. But definitely, if things go well, we're gonna be going next time. We're gonna make it hopefully so some of our viewers and people can actually meet us in person and get to ask us some questions up front. Uh,
Yep. Ask us all those burning sword questions that are normally in the comments section.
yup, exactly. Or let us know what you want to see. So it's gonna be a good
Yep.
time, but we're really looking forward to it. Uh, Other than that, Kyle, you got anything going on, bud?
That's just the Udemy course, man. We're still chugging along and editing. It's a monster of a project, but it's been a blast to do. Hopefully, the goal is to have that ready for distribution that anyone wants to learn about Hama through our Udemy series can grab that at DragonCon. And I think that we're going to hit that target at this point.
Al's been just being amazing using his modern job skills, being an amazing project manager, and knowing when I'm like still running around doing sword stuff, he's like, I'm doing the narration. I'm like, that
Yeah,
sounds freaking
I
cool
did, I
because
did
I don't
take
want you
over some
running.
of Enter's voiceovers while he was gone. So I'm like, we can't wait a month. So I'll
No,
just take some of these.
I'm so glad he did it because I would have been like nervous and it wouldn't have happened in time and it wouldn't have been as good. So thanks to Kyle, we're gonna have that on time and hope it's something you really enjoy. Uh, the Ham Association has also given us their blessing
Yep.
as well, so
And
it's
they've
gonna
been real
be
helpful with information for the videos too. Like shout out to the Hama group. They are awesome.
yeah. And then next time, actually, I'm gonna put it in our what was that a good point? the Ninja film that we worked on, Ninja.
Oh yeah,
And
you guys
I
have a
know
trailer for
Mafia
that show,
Jack,
right?
they did a teaser on that, which we will post that at the end of this one, or I'll just put it on our
Yes.
channel. It's actually looks really good. I hope we do a sequel, or if not, I don't care if we don't do a sequel. I want to talk to the actor or to the producer, and I think Kyle could direct an amazing something to just do a prequel or buddy. I don't know. It's just
Will it be
amazing. I'm really happy to be part of
lightsabers?
it. No,
Can
we're
we
not
have
doing lightsaber.
lightsabers?
No, it's well, maybe it's the 80s, so maybe we could do something lightsabers too. But it just looks amazing. It's gonna be a good time. A lot of good things are coming our way, and we really appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Make sure to check out our Instagram.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
still got our Patreon going on. We're gonna do some more revamping of that because I know it's been hard to give a funnel for you guys to help donate towards what we want. So we gotta come up with something interesting and new for you guys. But other than that, this has been Spencer.
Kyle?
Until next time, wander on and.
Check us out on Patreon. You can even sign up to get our Season 1 exclusive t-shirt. We are grateful for your contributions, and every bit helps us bring you more content. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff, but most importantly,